sir. We all know a lot about him. Today, I'll just give you a small brief about his awards during his time. So he has got 4 patents for his innovations, and he has also conquered the Helen Keller Award for his work for the people with disability, and he was also honored with the International Ron Mays Design for the 21st Century, the Universal Design. He is the only Indian to get this honor. So I'll just leave it to Balaram sir.
Not necessary, Akshaya, but let us start with the...
Yes, yes. I request everyone to mute their calls, so you will be hearing better.
In this, welcome everyone. Good afternoon to all of you. And in this, interaction, we don't deal with the content of the teaching, but the process of the teaching and learning. To start with, I think I will show you a small clip, courtesy Shashikala Anand. This is about more than one kind of intelligence. Let us see. So it will actually stimulate us.
People's first experience of the system is often profoundly alienating. This isn't the fault of their teachers, but of the system itself, which assesses us for a particular kind of intelligence. We pass or fail on ridiculously narrow criteria. I was lucky at school because I had the kind of intelligence they were looking for: linear, analytical, hyperlexic. It was only after leaving school that I realized, in other respects, I was a complete dummy. I stumble over cognitive tasks that other people can perform in their sleep. I have a close friend who I see as a genius. He can listen to an engine, even on the phone, and tell you the problem is a particular bearing. He has a remarkable spatial navigational intelligence, and even professional mechanics wonder how on earth he can do it. But he was deemed a total failure at school. He was confronted with tests that didn't fit the way his mind worked. I expect you've come across plenty of people like this. People you know are bright, but they're bright in the wrong way. They're bright in the way that isn't being assessed. The truth is that there are lots of different intelligences, and we shouldn't be surprised. During the evolutionary phase of our history, a group of people will be more likely to survive if its different members saw the world in different ways. Some people could make excellent tools. Some people could hunt very well. Some people were good at looking out for danger. Some people were good at strategizing how to get through a long winter. Some people could tell the stories that would inform the next generation. We needed a load of different intelligences in order to survive. Nowadays, we are treated as if only one kind of intelligence is valid. Anyone with a different intelligence is deemed stupid. The way we are schooled compounds this alienation. How did we get to the point that we believe the best way of schooling children is to sit them behind a desk and insist they keep still? Children keeping still? That's difficult for anyone, but especially for kids with a roaming, navigational mind. I've done some volunteering with an adventure learning charity, and the first time I took a group of these children out, we were rock pooling on the shore. Most of the kids had never seen the sea before, never visited the countryside before. And there was one kid who just stood out. He was brilliant. He was there at my shoulder all the time. Whenever I said, "What's this?" or "Why is it this colour?" he would hazard a guess. And they were always interesting answers. He was finding things, catching things, picking things up. And after a couple of hours, I said to his teacher, "That kid is a genius." She said, "Him? He's bottom of the class." If a kid like that is failing, It is not the kid's fault. The fault is with the system. As I say, I don't blame the teachers because they have to teach to the system. Plenty of teachers desperately want to do creative things with their children, to discover their different intelligences, but they are forbidden to do so. If an intelligent child fails a test designed to assess a different kind of intelligence, they become alienated, not just from school, but from the system as a whole. The danger is that they then become alienated from public life, alienated from society, eventually alienated from themselves.
Thank you. That we have seen now, I think that this film very clearly articulates the various kinds of intelligences. And right now we are forcing into one kind of intelligence which puts emphasis on the linear, analytical, and hyperlexic system. Let us also look at the more than one kind of teaching. The story I recall is about a Zen master. One parent went to a Zen master. Zen masters are normally also they're masters in one or the other skill, like archery or sword fighting or something else. So this particular master is good at sword fighting. So this parent goes to him and asks him, "Sir, please, 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 teach my son sword fighting." So as usual, the Zen master first says, no, I don't teach your son. Finally, he relents and said, on one condition, I will allow your son to learn from me. Whatever I say he should do it, he should not, question it. He should, take it as God's word and do as I say, anything what I say. So he said, yes, sir, yes, sir, certainly he will do. So the father left the son there and went away. And the first thing the Zen master asked him is, you take that piece of mop and then keep mopping the whole place. And also keep cleaning the garden. And also keep cleaning this table. So he asked them to do this work. It's a back-breaking. So 1 day, 2 days, 1 month has passed, but the master has not said anything about this sword. So the boy is wondering what is happening. What is happening meanwhile is this. Every day when the boy is mopping, from behind the Zen master will go. The Zen masters always carry a stick with them. He will suddenly, and from any side he will come and give him a big whack on his back with his stick. So this he does every day. So that after some time, the kid has become so frightened, and he would now expect the blow to come from any side. So this has happened this 1 month, one grueling month. And by that time, just to save his skin, the boy has become so alert, even if the master is coming, from few, yards away, he would still sense automatically, and he will be kind of ready with his defense. After 1 month, another 1 month, this carried like that. After 2 months, this Zen master called him, okay, now you have learned how to defend yourself. So now you are fit for me to teach you to touch the soul. What this story illustrates is there is another kind of teaching. There are many kinds of teaching. So today, let us look at some of the ways of teaching very quickly. We have in our epic Mahabharata, everybody knows, written some 3,000 years ago. In that, it mentions about Ekalavya, who learns from, not from a teacher, but an imaginary teacher. So he hasn't learned from Dronacharya, who is supposed to be the teacher, but he puts him as a virtual or imaginary teacher somewhere, and he worships him, and he learns by himself. And this is, whether it is really happened or not, this is a kind of mind-blowing imagination the Creator has kind of showed us. But I won't go into that. There is another example of Tata Shan. Many of you may be knowing it. After the devastation of Japan by the atom bomb, one teacher in Japan came up to start a school, and with nothing, there are only ashes. Japan became ashes. So, but from that he started. It's all very beautifully written down in this small book called Tata Shan, how this teacher has made them learn directly from nature, directly from whatever is happening around. There is another kind of teaching. But even that is far away. But the more recently, Ivan Illich, a great educational philosopher, has written a book which is now a world classic called Deschooling Society. You all must have read it, where he argues that the institutional teaching is detrimental to actually growth of a person. But I will not even go into that, because this is about it's talking about the system. But teacher and student, that is the teaching and learning we talk about. I would give the recent example. Hardly 7 years ago, Sugata Mitra had installed in India, in Delhi, slum, a computer on the wall. It happened in 2013, and he just left it there and went away. The kids from the slum went there, they played with it, and slowly they have learned. It has become a huge success. He got TED Prize of $1 million for creating, and now he's creating 8 clouds in this field to make learning without any teachers. But what I would like to talk today is that it has its own downside, its own homeschooling has its own problems of mainly social dimensions of learning, like a peer learning and serendipity and mentoring, these kind of things where it lacks. But what all that says is that learning happens all the time. The world is a kind of, you can learn, the world is, like Gandhi said, world is my family. We can say that world is our teacher. The dictionary defines learning as to gain knowledge, skill, and ability in something. I think it is very narrow. The it doesn't take care of many other things which real teaching or real education is supposed to be. There is also a proverb you all must have heard, not a proverb, a phrase which has become very, very popular, is if you give fish to a hungry man, you solve the problem only for that moment. But if you teach him fishing, then you'll solve it forever. This phrase looks very simple, but actually it ignores many other things like the fishing rod costs, the worms will cost, the spot where the pond will cost. There are many other things involved in it. So we won't get into that. But let us go back to how human beings learn. Not human beings only, all beings learn. That is not taking into account the inborn ability to do something. Like a weaver bird weaves because it's inborn, but a parrot learns fast, a dog learns fast, a monkey learns fast tricks. So it's not only human beings, but every being has the ability, the curiosity to learn. So that is the basic thing. We are born, it's a natural thing to have a curiosity. And curiosity is the first step in learning. My favorite author, Mark Twain, very famously said, "Thank God I never went to school so that I can educate myself." So it's a very thought-provoking thing. It happens sometimes, whatever happens to you, there are some things which will force you to learn. We learn all the time in that kind of way. If you don't have money for something, you will learn how to value the money. If you, my family was a joint family and it's a poor family, so I learned how to adjust with others. I have also learned how to, I have no parents who know much about it, much about what is education. My mother could not even understand what is a grade means. If I say I have got first grade, she says, is it good or is it bad? But the other side, silver lining is that, so that there are no expectations or there are no tabs put on me that you should do this, you should not do that. Let us, look into what actually is involved in learning and what is learning. One way of saying this is learning involves observation, practicing by imitation, and questioning and reflection. OPQR. This is how we learn. You see, as soon as we are born, before we even heard of what is school, we kept learning. That's how we learned how to talk, how to walk, how to run, how to do things. So there are no teachers. So these are all learned by ourselves, by observation and imitation, questioning and reflection. But we are talking about right now not that kind of learning, but also kind of learning to do a job well or get on well with life. To me, it seems there are three kinds of learning. That is the direct learning, which is institutional learning, and indirect learning. Institutional learning, you need teachers, but indirect learning, you need indirect teachers like books, like internet, like open university style, or you need many other things through which you will also learn. So there is a teacher, but he is not visible, and he is not in form of a human being, but it could be in many other forms. And The third one is the self-learning. Animals, many animals learn that way. So the defending and gathering food and all that will come involuntarily. So let us ask ourselves whether a teacher is necessary. What is happening presently is the system, we have stuck up with a system which is built on memorization of information, and information has become a commodity. The internet fast outdated it, because a commodity could be outdated. Google, Siri, Alexa give you answers very quickly. Your spellings are automatically corrected, and your calculator solves mathematics, and your 3D printer builds models at the press of a button at many times with less cost. So why we need to teach anything about materials and why we use brain? This is where the problem is. This is the danger which we haven't seen in our enthusiasm to have the comforts, is that we are infantilizing ourselves. If I rely on a calculator, and I will never learn how to calculate myself, my brain will go to sleep. So, but what is happening is this is not realized, and let us come to what is mainly the ailing the present system of higher education, which I am familiar with. The parents, in the kind of in their belief of love and in their belief of caring for children, they're actually not caring for the real interests of the children, but what other people think is good. I know at an example, there is one brilliant student who was the son of a brilliant doctor in a city, and he studied there, and he was kind of so much overshadowed and overcoached by the parent. So he came with brilliant skills, but he was so oppressed and depressed that he could not do well in the foundation. So we tried everything, counseling and all that, they didn't work. So we have to fail that student. I said, you have to do the foundation again. So immediately his father came down. When he was talking to me, all the time when the father talked to me, he didn't say once about what happened to my son. All the time he said, sir, I'm very well-known doctor in this city. Everybody knows me as Mr. So-and-so is a great doctor. Now, if the city knows that my son has failed, what do they think of me? At that time, I really felt very angry with this gentleman who is actually thinking of himself, his glory, his reputation, and everything himself, but not what is happening, how the son is almost killed by him. So this is not the isolated case. This is happening all the time, because the parents in the self-esteem wrapped into accomplishment, the parents try to push the children to accomplish. This is a kind of illness, I call it an illness, accomplishment, better future prospects, and degrees. So this got into parents' minds, and this illness is making actually all the young people ill, mentally ill. Mental illness is rampant now, particularly in Tamil Nadu, where I'm right now working. But I think it is a very sad thing that the parents are doing this. Their illness is causing the illness to the young people. So that is the sad state today happening in the present education system, which puts a lot of emphasis on the memorization and the analytical and logical abilities rather than anything else. And the parents are not actually seeing what is the real inclination of the son or daughter, but what the society will see as high. If it is music learning, so they say whether the daughter or son has a real ear for music or not, they force them to go to music, go to cricket, if that is the one which the society says good, or if it is medicine, they will go to medicine because you will get a better job, you will get so much money. So this is the main culprit. But let us see what actually the learning should have. I say there are levels of learning. The first level, of course, is the knowledge and skills to do a job well. Of course, that is needed because we all have to live and we all have to earn our bread. So this is the acquiring of knowledge and skills. That is how. That is only first level. But what is missing is the second level. Normally, except some good teachers and good schools do, the attendant values to what we do. That's the why. The skills, I have always said that skills alone won't do good to you unless you know how to apply those skills. Not only how to apply the skills, to know why you are using that skill. It's like, I gave an example of you have a gun and you are very skilled in using the gun, but you should know when to use and why to use and why not to use. So that is the second level. The third level is that you are not only a machine to do a job, but you are a human being. So you have to grow as a total, complete person. We use the word mentoring, but many times we don't know what is meant by mentoring. The mentoring is to make you, in the old guru system, Ru is darkness, and Guru is supposed to be, one who takes you out of that darkness. In that sense, that is mentoring. The growth of a person is important, not only his ability to earn a living. So that is the third level. The fourth level, which I feel is like the Abraham Maslow said, the self-actualization, the being a better human being with, who will kind of care for the society and the environment in which he lives in. The computers and the internet today can kind of easily relieve and be better in the first one, which is giving knowledge and skills to do your job well, because they're faster, they can reach wider audience, they're larger, they can be cheaper and also better, that is more efficient. And also, more importantly, anytime, anywhere. So to that extent, in that kind of system where, in the present kind of system, computers can easily kind of replace a teacher. Of course, there are downsides that probably could be attended. That is, that will make you, as I said earlier, the infantilizing is one thing which will happen, but also there are other practical things like signal quality, the technical quality. It depends mostly on this signal quality and the quality of the equipment you have, the device which you have, which is accessible probably in cities and in where there are many towers, signal towers, etc. are there, but and also people have money in cities, but what about in villages where there are no towers and no computers can't be accessible and all that. These are, and of course, the loss of privacy and security, vulnerability and all that. But these are physical things. But to me, the main thing is the infantilizing, which is a terrible thing, which that happens after some time. I had an incident in a big mall in America. Once there is a power cut, and everybody is stuck up because the people, the long queues at the pay counter could not go further because the person who is operating that, he said now my billing machine is not working and I can't calculate myself. My calculator is also not working. So what would I do? So this is a kind of pathetic situation. So in my little book, if you have heard of it, called Q&A on Education, there is one important question. It says that the question is, how should one teach? The answer is by not teaching. So it seems ironical, but what do you mean by not teaching? But not giving just information or knowledge pouring into the mouth, but be a catalyst. So a good teacher it's an art of transference of experience. So a good teacher would be reaching out to a student. A good teacher draws out the best which is in the student himself, and this is the most important thing, because this varies from person to person. It can be done only by a person, because computers won't be able to do this to you, and opening the eyes of the person, inspiring, make one question all the time. And these are the ones, some of them which are very important, which will not come if we learn it from the online. Of course, the other things like team working and life skills, these are also lacking. But are the teachers right now giving that or not? If the teachers right now are doing what earlier I said, memorizing kind of style of teaching, then we don't need teachers. But the other things which I mentioned earlier, we certainly need a teacher, and for that we need teacher education. There are so many schools coming up, not only design school, but all kinds of schools, because the awareness for teaching, awareness for learning has increased. Even the poorest person would aspire to send his daughter or son to school because he learned the importance of education. But is he getting the good teaching? So we need teacher education. There are not good teacher education institutions. Except BED is there, but in design there is nothing like that. The design teachers are tremendously in short supply. So we need also a teacher who nurtures the pupil. For that we need a very high teacher-student ratio. If you don't know the student with a face in person, how can we draw out from him? Then it is as good as the computer or a mechanical thing teaching. So we don't need marks and degrees, but still we need assessment. That should be mainly self-assessment. We should make the student capable of assessing for himself so that he can go further. And finally, I think in future, the kind of education we need is that one which will be tailor-made teaching, not a kind of mass-produced teaching. Right now, which is happening because it's convenient, but we need to tailor-make it. And even I envisage a future where you can have a self-syllabus. The student will decide, like the buffet. buffet dinner, we do, you select this I would like to learn. In that, the new technology would be very useful, but that should be done. That is level 1, proposal 1. The proposal 2 is, I always remember J. Krishnamurti, who said that he has written a marvelous book called Freedom from Knowing. So what he says is, anything which you called it knowledge, it is already outdated because it's already done. So that doesn't deal with uncertainty which we are facing. Yeah, COVID is another uncertainty which suddenly made us realize how uncertainty is here to stay and you have to live with it. But we don't prepare people to deal with the change which you don't know what is going to happen. So this is one thing which is very important, to deal with the uncertainty. The second one, quality, which we don't normally give, is today there is abundant of information, abundant of knowledge, abundant of everything, but we get lost in that because we are overwhelmed by this. So there is no need to give information, but there is a need to tell the student how to make intelligent and wise choice. So there will be a shift from learning what you need when you need to continuous learning. We should be on a mode, the future mode is that continuous learning which never stops, which is not bound only to institutions or colleges, but you will be, once you're primed yourself and you constantly keep learning, no matter at what age and what level. As I will end my thing with John Dewey, who said that education is not preparation for life, but education is life itself. The another thing I would like to mention here is, people talk about unlearning, which is a big menace. It's not only the system which is the problem. The problem is, from the day we were born, we were rubbed into, it was, our brains have been kind of conditioned in a certain way. So unless we can't have a freedom, as Krishnamurti is talking about, unless we uncondition it. But it is the most difficult thing to do. It is easy to draw on a clean sheet of paper, but it's very difficult to draw on a paper which has already written something on it. So erasing is very, very difficult, especially on mental erasing. So these are the problems we stay with, and this is what I had to say. And now I will open for questions and discussion.
Still, we didn't get any questions, sir. Listeners, I think you can type your questions in the Q&A tab that's given in the window, so that I'll read it out to Balaram sir and he will deliver the answer. So there's a question from Prithvi Raj.
Yes.
In this age of information overload, it seems the old school method of sticking to one topic works much better than scattering the energy. What do you think on that?
What is meant by scattering energy? See, there is, if I understood rightly, yeah, a master of.
Like,
sorry, you want to explain more?
Yes, scattering, focusing on multiple topics.
See, this is my personal opinion. There is this old proverb, jack of all and master of none. Yeah, that cannot be taken on its face value because, yeah, you need both. You should know everything around you, and then you will be, good at one particular thing. So if you don't know anything else and you stick to only one particular thing, you will have a tunnel vision. You will be narrow focused. So you will not know what the, other things are happening. I will give you a metaphor. Suppose you are a doctor. If you only specialize on, say, eye, that also left eye, you will be expert in that, but unless you understand the whole functioning of the body, because everything is connected, so you will not have a proper vision. So this overall understanding in a generalized understanding is necessary. Within that, you can specialize, and certainly, you should go deep into it. Normally, my experience is that the undergraduate education should be very general. It's like knowing the whole body. And the post-graduation is a further specialization in a particular area. Yeah, a particular area, and say, suppose if it is design, the undergraduate is a communication design. The post-graduation would be typography. Even in typography, it would be typeface design, or even further. So the specialization should happen at postgraduate level, and further specialization could happen at the doctorate level. But I feel at the undergraduate level, it should be a generalized kind of education.
Thank you, sir. So the next question is from Lakshana. So how should designers assess their own work?
Sorry?
How should designers assess their own work?
Not only designers, but everybody, if you do a work, you have to keep assessing. You should be your own critic. There are many ways of doing it. It is like assessing your own work is difficult, because we are all human beings. So we have our own, you can't be harsh with your own work. So one technique which, many designers do, well-known designers, starting from Charles Sims, they do is, you ask someone else to do it for you. You never assess your work yourself, but show it to some colleague who knows the work and who is not biased. He's not trying to please you, but a real friend doesn't try to please you, but he wants to do good for you. If somebody points out there is some dirt on your face, he's not your enemy, but he's actually a friend. From that sense, if you have somebody who has that kind of rapport, that kind of closeness, and that kind of interest and doing good to you, that kind of people, you should ask them. But sometimes even, people, the other day I said, Binay Sarkar used to ask, we as a students, we hardly know much about it. But as a young, he used to ask, say, suppose you are the consumer, how do you react? So feedback is the most important thing for any profession, and especially in design profession, because design professions, I mean, with due apologies, would think all the creative professionals think that they are the end of the world. That we should not think that ours is a profession which deals with creativity. It doesn't mean that we know everything. We don't know everything. Yeah. And in my life, I have gone through it several times. Every time I have to learn, and many times I have to ask such basic questions because I don't know. Yeah. So I think this feedback is something which should be in every work which we do, an honest feedback. Critical, constructive criticism is the word which many people use it, but yeah, that constructive criticism is absolutely must. Means you criticize, but don't rubbish the person, but point out where the fault lies, where the weakness is, so that it could be strengthened. So from that attitude itself, yeah, I see it many times happening with teachers. Teachers will suddenly look at the work of a student and say, they tear it up or say this is rubbish, which is actually destroying the confidence of the student. Yeah, no, that should not happen. But you should say, this is wrong, mister. If you correct it, you will be really good. This is the constructive criticism. You point out the mistake, point out the weakness, point out the bad thing in it, but in a way to make him say, this is the challenge. In my teaching, sometimes I use, if a student comes to me and says, sir, what do you think of it? And if it is really bad, I will say, I will not say just you can do it better. But I will say that, oh, I won't even say this is ordinary, but I will throw a challenge and provoke him saying that, see, mister, any donkey can do this. But why only Rahul should do it? You are Rahul. So Rahul should do something better than this. So then you see the Rahul, you emotionally kind of approach him. Then Rahul will come certainly with better design next time. But if I discourage him and Rahul, you are an idiot, this is all rubbish, that I'm actually affecting his self-esteem.
Thanks, sir. So next question is from Mohan Chandra. So design learning has been a very hands-on, experimental, interactive, collaborative learning system. What is the shift we see before us?
Yeah, you have analyzed very well. Design is doing, it's not doing one person, but it's collaborative, and it has got the shift I see is when people imagine they are the ones who are creating. Yeah, it's never, I always remember, Henry Ford, the creator of car, and I give example to my students and my colleagues, that when car was first came out, and Henry Ford has become a big success, man of success. So the newspaper fellows went to him, and the one journalist asked him, Mr. Ford, what do you think? You have given such a great gift to the world. So Ford chuckled and said, it's hardly my work. I have not invented the rubber. I have not invented the inflation. I have not invented the wheel. I have not invented the steering column. I have not invented the molding. I have not invented the steel. I have not invented the horn. I have not invented anything. I have just assembled together. See, this attitude you should have. Nothing is actually your work, but we should get this so-called creativity into our head and the ego into our head and say we are the greatest, we are the gods. We are not gods. We have even an author, when you are writing a story, thinks that he has created the whole thing out there. But he's not creating the whole thing. He's, what about all those people who have gone in front of him and all those books and articles he has read, all this has gone into his system and finally it is coming out in expression. So nothing in life we do is actually absolutely our own thing. It is the work of research. Has been said often that it is standing on the shoulders of the others who have worked in this particular field. It is that, so every work we do is like that in life. I'm not doing it with false modesty or false humility. It is actually every work we do is, yeah, collaborative. It depends on many people's work, and that when we have that attitude in us, we will behave well with the clients. The many fights with the client says that you don't know design, we only design, as if design is a kind of ivory tower or design is some mysterious thing. So if we have that attitude, we are like any other people. We are as important as the barber at the corner, who is also a designer in his own way. So so this shift, Mohan Chandra, you're asking me, is that this danger we should be careful not to get into the trap of I am the ego trap, which I call that I am the one, I am the creator, I am the greatest, everything is because of it is my idea. Yeah. And I was kind of learning when I was in the design field. Yeah, people said to me, great people said to me that ideas anybody will get. Any donkey will get an idea. It is how you make the idea work and be appreciated by people. And that's what design is. Design is not getting ideas, children will get much more ideas than us. So what we should realize is, it is the realization of the idea, and that also you don't realize it ever all by yourself. It is directly or indirectly based on many other people's thinking.
Thanks, sir. So the next question is from Yash. So what's your advice on how one should begin and where to begin on this journey of learning without teachers?
As I said, this is a beautiful question. If you remember, I said this self kind of learning starts with self assessment, observation, constantly good observation with whatever is happening around, and constantly asking yourself, are you kind of learning something from it or not? So if this query starts, if this curiosity we all are endowed with, if this starts, this will put us into that mode of constant self-assessment, and constant self-assessment will not stop there. Then it will make you, do something about it. And that itself is the growth. What we say growth is, if you realize this is not working, something else will work. And that is, what growth is. All that. The self-assessment is, necessary. Observation and questioning whatever is happening around, and reflecting on it, and finally come with what can be done. This becomes the attitude. You're not looking for answers somewhere else, but in yourself. Then whatever we do, that is learned. To me, the true learning is that. True learning is not something is written in the books and you memorize it, or somehow and vomit it or practice it in whatever way. But tomorrow, if some new situation comes, you're stuck up with. So you're waiting for somebody to write a book on it so that you can solve it. So that will not work. No? So what works is, as I said in my concluding statement, that the constant self-assessment will start by observing, questioning, reflecting on it. Yeah, this will take us. Imitation initially, a child imitates and learns, but then he or she will come out of it and finds his own voice. So that is the way we also should do. We should, you see, we are losing our power of observation because we are not looking really. We are not really looking at seeing. We are just going, very, in my opinion, unfortunately, we are going like a sheep following what the others are doing. So that will not take us anywhere, except if one sheep, falls into a ditch, we all will fall into the ditch. This is what I think Krishnamurti was saying.
Thanks, sir. So the next question is from Suvarna. So please throw light on the schooling system, which gives ready information, killing curiosity, because experience is completely missing. This creates distorted cognition.
Suvarna, you said it already. Yeah, as long as you kind of, follow mindlessly something else, which is kind of, processed and put into your mouth, you will never grow. You have, and experience is most important because, as it is said, an ounce of experience is equivalent to a ton of knowledge. And that is absolutely right. Nothing beats experience. So whether you're educated or not, you're educated in the formal sense of education. Before the formal sense of education started, people have been living, even today, all the tribals, they don't go to institutions, but they have great education. I always admired how they, how they collect honey, without being ever bitten by the bees. How they climb, you see the 60 feet tall coconut tree has been climbed so easily by people. That is a kind of skill. I mean, isn't it education? That is the real education, which solves life's problem. So there are many problems in life which are not in books. Books can't give, books have a limitation. Computers also have a limitation, but a human being can give that. My experience, I can't share it through a computer or a book. I can only share it with person. That is where, the personal rapport is necessary. Our grandfathers and grandmothers have given us, and that is, memorable for all of us. And we have learned in the beginning of life these skills from them. That is personal experience they've given, whether they're educated or not educated, it doesn't matter.
Thanks, sir.
Yep.
So the next question is from Prabhakar. How is costing of design done?
That's very simple question. There are many ways of this calculating the cost. Americans do it one way, Indians do it another. There are many ways. So you can choose the one. I can tell you 2, 3. The one is one very kind of probably fair one and a simple one is that based on your time you spent on it. Yeah, hours. Normally this is how the, many professions will do. The hours spent on it like the labor. But that's not the correct one because ideas, sometimes you get the idea just like that, a fluke, and sometimes you struggle and struggle and struggle, the ideas won't come. So that's not the foolproof one, but the first one, as I said, like we pay visiting faculty or some other, that is the very blunt, very kind of, that kind of method. So Then we have to come to another one where you charge based on the royalty system. Like you are designing something, if I'm designing a product, say I'm designing a pen, a new kind of pen, I can charge on if the client is making a million pens and on each one he makes so much of profit, I can ask for a share of it. This is how royalties work. Some architects also charge this a percentage of the building cost. So in the same way, we can have this kind of, the other system is depending on what is the production quantity, which is of course a very difficult thing for you to, it has got its own problems. But the other one is a lump sum, which is basis of you calculate roughly what is the time your level of, say, you are now getting 1 lakh rupees per month. So then you can calculate how much is the hourly rate. Suppose it is 10,000 rupees per hour. Based on that, you calculate first how much this particular job is going to take approximately. So many hours and so many thousands, and then overheads you input, then you will come to some kind of figure. And then you see the creativity also, that component also added to it. So put some, kind of value on that, depending on the complexity of the job, whether it is a routine job or whether it is a kind of very, very innovative job. So you put some and add these two, and then say, this is the lump sum, I would charge you. Plus all the, of course, out-of-pocket expenses like airfares and all those, that should be extra. But for the job, a lump sum normally is, kind of, is the right thing in my experience.
Thanks, sir.
Yeah.
So the next question is from Nandini. How can designers tackle this pandemic situation?
Yeah, I have, as I have mentioned, the pandemic has brought us to a situation that life is uncertain. So we should have the skills to deal with uncertainty. So of course, this we don't teach when we teach students. We teach only how it is done earlier, so that you can attend to it. But if it's in a new situation like the pandemic, which is not happened earlier, we don't know, we are suddenly stuck up of how to deal with it. But if we follow what I said earlier, like if we apply our mind and to say the uncertainty is, how will you attend uncertainty if we don't know? But we know very vaguely kind of probabilities, and based on that, if this is, if this is the way I will attend. If this is the way I attend. If this is the situation, this is the way I attend. You should have an alternatives like that. Right now, the pandemic, since you asked about the pandemic, suppose the lockdowns continue for a year, what I will do? If suppose the lockdowns open up in a month, what do I do? So we should have this multiple scenarios ready, like the army works out on plan B, plan 3, plan C, plan D. And all that, we should also have plans and see if that happens, this is how I would react. So we need some planning, of course. We can't be absolutely caught without any planning. That's also suicidal. But with this, some kind of a multiple scenario answers you work out, then you will not be, caught, suddenly without any planning. Yeah, I will certainly not suggest go by the flow. That is one way, but that's only philosophers can do it. So whatever happens, go with it, accept whatever loss happens, or you accept whatever gain happens. That is one way that only philosophers, I won't suggest that. We are human beings and we can't do that. Saints can do that.
Thanks, sir.
Yeah.
The next question is, how does design thinking translate in business strategy design? How effective is this method, and do companies validate this concept?
It is more and more, it's a simple question. More and more business schools are accepting this design thinking. It started with Harvard Business School in America. In fact, earlier, the design is only, people thought design is only dealing with aesthetics. But it is when the Harvard Business School realized that this is a thinking and it's not just aesthetic thing, but thinking innovatively. So Harvard School is actually propagated it, and now many top business schools all over the world, not only in America, even in India, business schools have started adopting design thinking into their curriculum. In fact, I've been going and teaching at Flame, which is actually Foundation for Liberal Arts and Management Education. So their management education, they have realized it. This is one of the progressive schools in the country, where I go regularly to teach. For the last 8 years also, I've been going there and giving design thinking as a module to them. So it is certainly working. If it is not working, people wouldn't have invited me to teach there. And many more business schools are taking this thinking part of design, because now widely it has been realized that design is a thinking and design is not aesthetic improvement. That has been established everywhere.
Thanks, sir.
Okay.
So the next question is from Vanati. Out of peer-to-peer learning and teacher-based learning, which one is efficient?
It has its own, both of them have their own merits and demerits. But at least first we should recognize peer-based learning is important, because we spend a lot of time outside the classroom with peers, and peers influence us a lot. So if I have to answer a direct answer, although it's at the cost of oversimplification, peer-based learning is very, very important, very powerful. And peers will last always. The teacher will come and go away. And after you passed out of that particular year or particular institution, the teacher is not there. But the peers, sometimes they are there with you all the time. So many decisions we take in life are peer pressure. The only important caution I will give you is those peers should be good ones. This is where the big if comes. If and only if the peers are good, you will be, otherwise you will be kind of badly, or you will be misled and you will ruin yourself. Whereas the teacher, I'm talking about a good ideal teacher, will not do that, because it's a God-given duty for him to look after your welfare and the future welfare. Peers, we can't say what kind of motives they have. But again, if we think of good peers, really concerned friend and concerned colleague, mutual concern, then there is nothing like it. because there you are more at ease of learning because it's at the same level. The level is important. The teacher, however great he is, he will always look at him, he is up somewhere and I am down somewhere. So there is that distance. We try to break it. I tell my students, please call me Balram and don't call me sir, because sir immediately puts me on a pedestal and all that. But no matter how much you said, it will only decrease a little bit, but it never totally avoids that. Yeah, that you can't do anything about it. Because they look, the students, especially in India, they look up at the teacher. And the teacher, it is up to the teacher to kind of deserve that position of upness. And I hope many teachers do that. But the peer learning is great if the peers are great. This is the big if. Otherwise, teacher, a good teacher is important. And if I can say this, a friend-like teacher is the best. It's the kind of a mix of peer and the teacher. When I started teaching at that time, I was very young, and my students are also very young. So the age difference is hardly maybe 3-4 years. So I could be almost like kind of share everything with them, like they're my younger friends. That is the ideal thing, but it doesn't always work. That's what my opinion about peers and teachers.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
So the next question is, please share your experience on learning within the company of others.
Well, this question is very much to do with people skills, what we call people skills. Working in the company of others. I mean, company means companionship, that kind of company, right? That's how I understand. You see, people skills is that how well you make others at ease, how well you be amicable, and how well you make others like you and you like them. These are all people skills, what we call people skills, and they work very well in teamwork also. If you ask me personally how I dealt with them, I try to many times, you learn by trial and error. Wherever you kind of hurt the other person, you should realize immediately and try to make amends with it. Yeah. And then next time you don't repeat it. So that's how you go ahead. Yeah. So I fortunately had a very good, wherever I have worked, my whatever in company of whomever I worked with, they were all, they're very nice to me. Is that, am I understood the question correctly? You don't mean the company like factory or industry?
No. I think this is what the person has asked.
This is very important. Very important. See, your ego should always be. You see, I always found ego is the great spoiler, and it will upset and drive everybody against you. So if you keep it a little bit down, then it will make wonders for you. And everybody works, I always found out, everybody likes a bit of appreciation. And when some things happen, some kind of mistakes happen, err is human. If you kind of subdue it a bit and don't overstate it, you forgive it a bit, then that will create wonders. So these, I think you will learn working in teams. And many people, the experience tells us a good leader works from behind. Yeah. Of course, we have the example of, Mahabharata, where Krishna is the main fellow who did the war, but he did from behind. He has become just the driver to Arjuna. So there is a great lesson in that. A good leader works from behind. A good leadership is not power politics, but responsibility. Yeah. So with this attitude, if you work, the team will love you. Okay.
Okay, sir. So the next question is from Suvarna. Is pandemic a design opportunity?
Certainly, this is an opportunity. Designers can move. Design is as a thinking process. Any problem is a problem. If we apply your mind and innovatively solve it, yes, pandemic is also a design problem.
Thanks, sir.
Every problem is an opportunity for us to apply your mind innovative way and show a way out of it. It is certainly, a pandemic is a big opportunity for designers to put their brains together. And I think there is already D-Source based at IDC Bombay is organizing a competition on the theme of this COVID-19. You can check.
Thank you, sir. So the next question is from Lakshana. Sir, do you think that the basic fundamentals of architecture and design are similar?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You see, there is not much difference. It's only a kind of, you deal with space, the material you deal with are different, but the basic principles are, same. It's one deals with spaces and one deals with, hardware or software. Yeah. So it is only but the approach is same. I think design thinking can certainly be applied to architectural thinking. There is no separate thing. They're all innovative. They, only the material is different. In fact, architecture, of course, is the mother of all arts. It has been said, but certainly architecture is the father of design, because many early designers are architects themselves. Eero Saarinen, even Charles himself, many of them actually designed products. I'm talking mainly about products because I'm a product designer. They all have marvelous designs. They've come out from architects because their thinking is same. So I really think that architecture and design are same, except they deal with different kind of materials. But the thinking is basically same. They're much younger. Design is much younger. Architecture is much older. So they feel they keep the distance, but I don't keep distance.
Thank you, sir. So the next question is from Vanati. What are the ideal parameters of design assessment or evaluation?
This is it takes a long time, actually. There are many parameters in a class, design thinking class. I tell them. There are aesthetic criteria, there are formal criteria, there are kind of ecological criteria. There are many criteria. It's not easy for me to tell in this short talk because it's not a one sentence answer. But there are parameters, very clearly worked out parameters. There are at least a dozen parameters, which I will tell in my design thinking class. They all has to be fulfilled depending on the product or the message which you are working on. The priorities one has to work. And the parameters also keep changing. This is something which we ignore. There is no standard kind of solution. The parameters have to keep changing as the society is changing, as the technology is changing, as the culture is changing. So within that, the new parameters have to be worked out. For example, in the beginning, when design has started, environmental criteria is not there. But today, you can't go ahead with any design without environmental concern. Yeah, ecological concern. So this is what is important. The parameters will be changing, and the parameters are many, and they vary according to the message or or the task which the design is addressing. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. So the next question is from Prithviraj. So, sir, can you please suggest a good learning source for sales for designers, like selling your design's value to a customer, and also a couple of good book on selling your designs?
This also, I mean, if you write to me, I will answer you in an email or something. This I can't give offhand just like that, but there are many books how to sell your designs, yeah, how to market your creative ideas. There are books. There are I don't know about the sites, but there are many books which will tell about this. So that is possible, how to sell your ideas.
Thank you, sir. So the next question is from, instead of opting for a degree in design, is it possible to be around with designers for some years and learn from them by working for free?
Not only it is possible, it is preferable. If you can do it, actually, I have no, everybody goes for degrees, but as I said in my talk, degrees are not necessary. It is like I keep giving this example. If you want to employ a cook, you don't go by the certificate the cook has brought, and the certificates can always be cooked also. So there is no point in looking at the certificate. You will do well to ask the cook, you cook as a sample, you cook one dish and show me. And that's how I decide. Yeah. So people go for portfolio makings and degrees and all that. This is all actually waste of time, in my opinion. You kind of you by degrees you don't select somebody. By your work will show. Of course, their portfolio will come, but it's not the presentation. You should have a good work, and in that, instead of going to a school to get a degree, why do you join a design school to get a good degree, right? Yeah. Instead, if you can find, there is an apprentice way of learning. Many people have come that way. In fact, I keep telling Charles Eames himself. Charles Eames is kind of awarded as the designer of the 20th century. So his example will be very valid. He never had any degree. He studied architecture in the beginning and then they left it. Then he learned by himself. But apprentice, internship, these are the very good ways of learning. That's also ways of learning. But the problem is that they will take a long time. through apprentice way unless the firm or design studio which you are working on is committed to teach you. And there is this big question: why should they teach you? Because they have to make money. Because if you have a design studio or a company or an industry, you are in business. You have to make money because time means money. So they won't have inclination to teach you. But if you say, I will work no matter what, whether you pay me or don't pay me or pay me very little, but I want to learn from you. And there are some companies or some design studios in the country, they will appreciate that and they will take you. And if you see, the most important thing here is for you to, am I learning? Or am I just giving slave labor? This is important. If the company or design studio allows you to apprentice and say, bhai, it is mutual. You give me, at a cheap rate your services, but I will also in return, I will allow you to experiment. I will allow you to learn from my senior designers and all that. If there are some companies like that, that is the ideal case because you are learning hands-on. A design school that way is less. Although it is structured learning, so that is an edge over the apprentice learning. But if you have an apprentice learning where the studio boss will allow you to learn and make you learn, that is the best kind of situation. There are not many best situations like that, but if you can get it, that is ideal. Apprenticeship, where you are made to, the boss commits to teach you. That's the best situation.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
I think we have come to the final question of this webinar.
Last question.
Yes, sir. And it's from Shreya. So, how well does design thinking translate in business strategy design? Are companies looking forward to adapting the design thinking approach in their business?
That I already answered this question. Many business houses, industries are already adopting this. They have some of them have design thinking departments. See, earlier there used to be R&D department, but now I think they're starting, good companies, good progressive companies have a design department. Design thinking experts have been called, if not they have in-house design thinking, but experts time to time have been called to inculcate this design thinking into the people who are working there. So this has been already happening, and this will happen more and more because once they see the benefits of design thinking, it certainly will take off. Now only few companies, American companies and Japanese companies and Korean companies are doing, but I'm sure very soon, once the benefits are, measurable benefits are seen by applying design thinking, it will come everywhere. I'm quite hopeful about that.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
I think we have come to the end of this session.
Thank you all for patiently listening to me.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for this
valuable
time.
Which also makes me learn.
And it was a very interactive question and answer session. So I didn't even look at the time. It was just flying away. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Akshay.
Thank you. Thank you for attending, everyone. The next series will happen the next Saturday, which is 30th May. And the series, it's the 5th one in the series. The title is Thinking Fingers and Speaking Materials. We all see you in the next series. Thank you and have a great weekend.
Thank you.